Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. If you think you've seen the peak of stupidity, after our first story, you'll change your mind. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. You're calling me asking to pay more? It was my second day working at a title company, a job that was completely new to me. It didn't take any unusual smarts to do this job, but since I was new, some things were still a little confusing. Some of you might remember that at this time the housing market was in a very bad place. In order to spark people's faith in purchasing homes, we had a first-time homebuyer tax credit. Essentially, you got a tax credit for 10% of your purchase price, up to $7,500, that acted like a no-interest loan. So you needed to purchase a $75,000 home in order to receive the full $7,500 tax credit. This might not seem like much, but at the time banks had a surplus of foreclosed homes, and in our area it was not uncommon to see houses going for $50,000 that were $200,000 just a few years prior. On to the MC. It's day 2 of my job, and a customer calls in after going over her closing documents. She wants to know why she's not getting the full $7,500 tax credit. I look it over and let her know that it's because her sales price is only $62,000. Estimating this number, it was 10 years ago, so she's only entitled to $6,200. Oh, but she's demanding to get the full amount, and she knows that her agent and us are just trying to screw her out of the remainder. This is a one-time credit, and she doesn't want to miss out on a dime. In all honesty, she wasn't really that hard to deal with over the phone from what I can remember, but she also wasn't going to let this go without getting the full credit. I, being new, I'm not really sure what to do, and I'm also thinking that maybe I've missed something here, so I go get a more experienced processor to assist. I run the scenario by her and ask if I'm missing something. She assures me that I have the information correct. She talks to the customer on the phone for a few minutes. The conversation is amicable. And after she hangs up, she informs me that we have to contact the agents because the buyer wants to increase her sales price from $62,000 to $75,000 in order to receive the full tax credit. I did that and never heard from the buyer again. She was happy, and the bank that owned the property was happy to make an easy $13,000. And our second story. 2 can play at that game. Prior to a kid's birthday party, landscapers that my wife hired cut a dead tree bordering my property and county parkland. A senior, nagging neighbor told the landscaper to keep off the parkland. The neighbor from 2 houses away then followed up by reporting my backyard to the county. A police officer visited, a survey was done, both my kids' playground had to be moved up 2 feet, and another neighbor's patio had to be partially uprooted. I went to talk to this old a-hole neighbor. He thought I was confronting him about the yard. I had a buyer interested in his home. I'm a realtor. He showed me all around his house before saying he just refinanced and plans to stay a long time. Fast forward a couple months, he lists his home for sale with an agent I've never met. With 5 bedrooms and 4.5 bathrooms, the tax record shows 2.5 bathrooms, so the work done was not permitted. No permit was pulled. I filed a non-permitted work complaint. The house went under contract. They agreed to repair a few items in the home inspection agreement. Then the sheriff showed up, followed by an inspection. They had to spend thousands of dollars to have permits pulled after the fact and prove the work was done to code, then repair it to code. Then they moved away. Edit. County code requires no structure to be installed up to county land taller than 7 feet. The playground was not stealing county land. The back corner was at 60-degree angle abutting the line. And our next story. Calling his bluff. A couple years ago, my wife and I, and son, moved into a new neighborhood in a small city/large town in the middle of nowhere, Canada. We quickly began to settle into our new place, which had a large backyard with trees, shrubs, flowers, etc. Midway through the summer, I began noticing that tent caterpillars and their silky tents had infested our apple tree. I talked with a couple of locals who informed me I needed to cut off all affected branches and burn them to avoid these pests spreading further and killing my tree or any other trees nearby. My wife and I did as instructed and proceeded to trim off all the branches and put them in our fire pit where we used lighter fluid to burn them crispy. We were burning the last of the branches when a grumpy old man, G-O-M, comes storming into my backyard, madder than a hornet. GM, what's going on here? Me. Oh, hey, we're burning up some branches from our apple tree. It had tent caterpillars and, you have permits for that fire? No, sir. We didn't know we needed one. The last town we lived in, you didn't need permits for backyard fire pit fires. Well, you need to get one and you're breaking the law. Put that out right now or I'm going to call the fire department. Oh, yeah, sorry. We didn't know we needed a permit. We're done burning anyway, so I'll put this out right away. GOM turns around and storms away, heads across the street. I casually watch him to see which house he goes into so I know which one to avoid in the future. The next day, I phone around and discover that you simply need to go down to the local fire hall, pay $10, and register with the fire department to get your permit. It never expires. I proceed to take the necessary steps, and within 30 minutes I have my fire permit. You don't actually get a piece of paper or anything, they just put it into their records that you have one. That evening, we invite a couple of our new friends over for a wiener roast and s'mores. About an hour into our hangout, a red pickup truck with the fire department's badge drives down our back alley and stops at our yard. Fireman, hey, you need to put out that illegal fire. Me, what? It's not illegal. I have a valid permit. I stopped by earlier today and purchased one. Oh, well, your fire's too smoky and it's bothering your neighbors, so I need you to put that out right now. And if it happens again, you can lose your fire permit permanently. Okay, sir, whatever you say. I proceed to put out the fire, but I knew something was up. How did he know I had an illegal fire? Why did he make me put it out anyway? I figured someone must have complained and reasoned that it must have been GOM. I apologize to my friends, finish my hot dog, and proceed to march over to GOM's house and knock on the door. GOM, hello? Me, hi, it's me, your neighbor from across the street, the one you chatted with yesterday about the fire. Oh, hi. What do you want? At this point, sweet old lady, who is GOM's wife, pokes her head around the corner and sees me. Hi, you must be our new neighbor. Come in, come in. She ushers us through the house and onto their back patio/deck where she seats us down. Can I get you something to eat or drink? Oh, I'm fine, thank you. I insist. Let me make you some lemonade. Sure, that'd be nice. She leaves me and GOM sitting alone at a table while she goes and makes us lemonade. I seize the opportunity and decide to confront GOM about this whole fire permit nonsense. Hey, so the fire department stopped by today and made me put out my fire. You wouldn't happen to know anything about that, would you? Yes, I told you needed a permit to have a fire. Right, that's why I went down to the fire department today and purchased one. But they still told me to put out the fire because it was too smoky and was bothering my neighbors. GOM stammers for a bit, surprised by the fact that I had a valid permit. Well, the smoke from your fire was terrible. It was blowing into our house and bothering my wife. She's very sensitive to smoke. I could tell that he was making this up on the spot, so this is where I hatched my malicious compliance plan. I apologized to GOM for my insensitivity and made small talk until SOL returned with our lemonades and sat down. With my most innocent, I love old lady's face on, I leaned across the table and said, Mrs. SOL, I want to apologize for my fire and the smoke. Mr. GOM told me that smoke bothers you and I had no idea our fire was causing you so much trouble. At this point, GOM shifts uncomfortably in his chair. I could tell that I'd called his bluff. SOL, whatever do you mean? Your smoke wasn't bothering me in the slightest. She shoots a dagger of a glare towards GOM. Don't you worry about me. Your fires are none of my concern. I apologize one more time with a side glance at GOM just to drive the point home. Are you sure? Because we want to be good neighbors. We don't want to have any fires if they bother you. Shush that talk. I'm perfectly fine. You and your friends enjoy all the fires you want. I made eye contact with GOM, who knows he's been thoroughly defeated at his own game. He quickly looks away, hangs his head like a puppy who got caught stealing treats, and mumbles something about wanting to be a good neighbor, at the prompting of his wife. I revel in the power of my malicious compliance victory while we make small talk and finish our lemonades. I bid farewell to GOM and SOL and walk back across the street, with a huge smile across my face, knowing I'd never again receive another fire complaint from GOM. I later found out that GOM used to work for the fire department and was buddies with the fire chief, which explains their odd behavior and quick response to his complaint. And our last story, my uncle and the fence. Where I live, the fence put up by the builder and on the property line is called a builder's fence. To replace or repair the fence, you need both owners' consent in writing. My uncle's house has 2 such fences on either side of the property. The fences were old, and because of the size of the fences, it was cost prohibitive to replace. The year this happened in was very rainy, and the fence collapsed in one section. Now, Uncle takes pride in his property and has been trying for years to get permission from his neighbor to repair it. The day after the fence collapsed, the neighbor came over and screamed at my uncle that he had to replace the fence because that thing was an eyesore. My uncle was pissed, but because the fence was now dangerous, he agreed if the neighbor covered half the materials, totaling about $1,000. The neighbor did not agree and said, "You're going to replace the fence and use my contractor, or I'm going to call my cousin in the city, by law compliance, and he'll make you replace it." My uncle told him to call the city and slammed the door in his face. Of course, a bylaw official shows up a few days later to give my uncle a notice that he had to replace or remove the fence in a month or be fined. After carefully questioning the official, he was told that it's only required to have a fence around your property if you have a pool, so the day before reinspection, my uncle and cousins took it down. The neighbor freaked out and screamed at my uncle that he had to replace it because he had a pool. My uncle looked him dead in the eye and said, "Not my problem. I'm in full compliance with the city, just like you wanted." I found out because I went over with my mom to hang out, and we were greeted with the sight of the neighbor trying to pour concrete footings in the rain. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.